Hello, welcome to What Am I Even Doing? I am Tara Lilly, fractional marketing leader, and I interview entrepreneurs and business owners and leaders about how they have grown and scaled their business. And today, Tricia Palmer, founder and president of BloomHR. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And we are talking all things HR today, right? But
Yes.
we're going to go back in time before you even started Bloom HR. So Bloom HR, that is fractional HR. Tell me a
Yep.
little more about what you guys do.
So really, at the core of what we do at Bloom is helping small businesses figure out what their HR people strategy is, and how that equates to and enables their business to grow. Um, you know, I don't say your people strategy supports your business strategy. Your people strategy is your business strategy. Without people doing things, without them being engaged and excited about your work, the business strategy is not happening. So really that's how we focus on, what we focus on with our clients is saying, okay, where are your goals? But also what is the soul of your company? What is, your core, you know, for, the questions that you ask here of why did you do this and what is your end goal? Okay, let's build out your culture and your people strategy around that. Yes, there's like boring laws that we have to comply with and all of that, but it's so much more than that. And how can we make this a place where people want to work, feel excited to work, because that is truly how you grow your business.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you know something huge because that's what when we think about business, we think about products and services, right? We kind of put that at the center, and then our
Yep.
customers, but the people aren't just a number on a spreadsheet. They're not just an expense. They are a big
A human being.
yeah, they're humans, right? Which goes back
Yeah.
to human and human
Human.
resources.
When it's funny you say that about the line item, and I have said that forever. I have been doing HR consulting for small businesses much longer than I have had my own business doing such. And I always say, your people are not a line item. Your people are not a line item. And wow, have I eaten my own foot on that, since starting a business. Because at the end of the day, they also are that. And it's trying to figure out, it's like, okay, well, whew, wow, medical is expensive. And I want to compensate appropriately and those things. And I have caught myself looking at, my employees are still on a spreadsheet,
Hmm.
and it is a line item and
Hmm.
what I pay them. But you have to view it as much more of an investment than a cost
Right,
center. So
right.
it's kind of shifting where that line item is on your P&L.
Yeah, learn how you view it, right? Like not
Yeah,
always like, hey, this is just another expense, but geez, like it's
it's an
the
investment.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you mentioned soul, like the soul of the company. That comes out with people. It's not a product
Yep.
or a service. It's people because you're connecting in the day. Businesses connecting people to people.
Yes, exactly.
And
And
you
if you don't have,
mentioned, okay, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you don't have that connection with your own people, your people are not going to connect with your customer
Right.
because they don't feel connected to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So then they're just showing up and they're meeting expectations, which isn't going to get you anywhere.
And gosh, that's happened so often in businesses, especially for I feel like leaders who don't take the time or maybe take themselves out of the role of leading teams. Like there's really good
Yes.
CEOs and entrepreneurs and business owners that are really good at business, but they
Hmm.
may not be good at the human leading
Yep.
part. And that's like knowing that and having the right people like you in place to like have those hard conversations of maybe we need to restructure here. Not that they're a terrible person, but their strengths are in different areas, right?
Right. And heck, I have faced that since starting this business, like in the opposite direction. I'm like, I'm really good at the people stuff, but please don't ask me to do accounting. That was like, whew. Shout out to David Campbell. He's a CPA here local in Charlotte, but he also did all of my accounting homework. in the tour guide office in college. So, which was very helpful then, not so helpful now. Um, but, like I have struggled on the opposite side of that. And it really is just, you don't know what you don't know. And thankfully we've been able to get accounting support to help me.
Yeah.
But admitting that this is not my strength and I need help. And as leaders, as CEOs, as founders, admitting that you don't know something is often the hardest thing to admit. And, we will come into businesses and, the first thing we're always going to look at when we start with a new client is the compliance. We're going to fix that first. We're going to make sure that everything's operating above board from that perspective. But then it's usually kind of the next step when we're talking about how are your people organized? How are they learning? How are they engaged? How are your managers managing people? Not only do we see this really good at manager or at businessing with leaders, but we also kind of see that with lower level managers that the strongest individual contributor on your team is going to get promoted because they're the strongest individual contributor. Why wouldn't we promote them? But that doesn't mean they're a good manager. It means they're a
Right.
good leader. It means they're really good at their individual contributor job.
Right.
Do they have the ability to lead a team? And it's, when you're talking about a CEO, about a founder, that's where it all starts. If they can't lead, if they can't even heck fake it till you make it with, me behind you saying, here's what I need you to talk about, here's what's important, it's not going to trickle down. So, saying, hey, we just want to make sure that we are taking care of our people. Yes, that we're not breaking any laws. Of course, that's always step one. But then how can we build this workplace, this company, not to just be a money-making machine? Yes, that's everybody's goal at the end of the day. We all want to make money. We all want to, we have revenue targets, all of the things. I have those too.
Right.
But you can't get there unless you focus on the other things first. So that's really kind of where Bloom came from. Prior to Bloom was in, corporate America doing this kind of HR and consulting with small businesses. And so much of it was, well, here's what best practices are. And this is the very high level template and things that we do. And all of those things are valid. Best practices matter. Consistency matters, all that thing. But it took so much out of what about you as a business, about you as a small business, you as an owner, and what does that mean? And how does that equate to how we create this architecture of your people strategy?
Yeah. And I'm sure because you've been doing this for a while, like you mentioned, in corporate before you even started Bloom, and you probably saw so many different things over the years, and a
Yes.
lot of different mistakes. But so when you were in corporate, obviously, like you mentioned, there's specific approaches that's done
Yeah.
under that company or by that leadership. Did you have an aha moment when you were in corporate, like I need to do this differently because businesses are not all one the same? Is there something that surfaced where you're like, all right, I need to change?
I think I always talk about, how I got introduced to HR like way forever ago. Um, I was working in New York. I needed a job. I got a job recruiting HR speakers for HR forums, and I was like 23 and had no idea what I was talking about. So, um, and back then, literally all the panels we were recruiting for was how to get HR a seat at the table. It's like all anybody was asking, how do we get there? Because HR could see the value, but truly nobody else was. COVID happens.
Okay.
Everybody sees the value because who handled all of that? It was HR. We were working 80-hour weeks at the beginning of that, of like, what does this stay-at-home order mean? What does this mean?
Yeah.
And so as that kind of settled and going back into outsourcing HR, a lot of the bigger companies, COVID just kind of opened up a lot of a different set of liability for small businesses, and we all have to approach things now. It really shifted how employees think about work, how they want to work. how the world works. And so a lot of the more corporate HR groups, the what I lovingly refer to as big box HR, became much more like standardized and risk averse, and that's our firm footing. And that might work for them. It might work for a publicly traded huge organization, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for a small business. And I think where I started to kind of say, okay, it's time for me to move on was when I'm much more of a ask for forgiveness type of gal than ask for permission. Except for when it comes to the law, we do that right. But you know, I wasn't going to not go that way with my clients. I wasn't going to not get to know them and not build those relationships. I wasn't just going to hand out templates and say, well, here's where we can get you started. You do you have a nice time. And that's just kind of where a lot of those big box organizations are going. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If that's what your business needs, if that's what you can handle right now, great. That will, you'll get in compliance, you will not be breaking any laws, and you can sleep at night, and that's really what you need or what you can handle right now. Awesome. That's great. That's just not how I wanted to do HR. And HR is such a personal profession. Human, as you mentioned, is in HR. And for me, how I've always approached it is that my personal ethics, my personal belief systems have to be, they're what make me human. And so that has to be how I practice human resources. And if I'm not saying anything was ethically incorrect, but just the way I believe things should be done, if that's feeling, in contrast to what I'm being asked to do, this isn't really the right place for me anymore.
Right.
And it wasn't that I was like, ding, I'm going to go start my own business at all, actually, opposite of that. I just started looking for a new job and ended up, I was trying to be picky. I have two young kids. I've been there a while. I had to, you establish the trust of, daycare calls, I gotta go, or just life. Worked from home a few days a week, was able to get things done around the house. I was being fairly picky for the first time in my life. I didn't need a job, so I could be. And then through kind of that looking process, I ended up reaching out to a former colleague who has now turned into my business partner, simply because he knows like everybody in town works in HR. And I was going into that meeting with the intent of saying, hey, do you know anybody who needs an HR director? Can you get me in any rooms? I'm looking for a job. And a couple hours later, I come home and my husband asked, well, how was it? I was like, I think I agreed to start a business with him. And he was like, you think? And I was like, I think is truly the key two words there. And it turns out I did. But we just kind of got to talking about all of those things I just mentioned, and like, this is where I'm struggling. This is what I want to do. I want to make more of an impact. And he was saying, well, I'm seeing this in a lot of small businesses that I work with, and this isn't just isolated to where you are in your career or anything. Like, this is a thing. And he was like, you should just do it. I was like, what? Excuse me? What do you mean I should do it? He was like, just start a business. And I was like, what? I repeat, me to do what? And he was like, yeah, I think you'd be great. I'll do it with you.
Oh,
And I mean, that was just never, ever anything I ever thought
yeah.
I could do. It had truly never crossed my mind. And even, the next couple weeks, couple months that we were still talking about it, I was like, am I really going to quit my steady corporate paycheck to do this? And, thankfully I have an extremely supportive spouse with an extremely stable corporate career that he loves, and health insurance,
Oh,
all of the things.
check, check.
Um, check, check. But, and so we didn't, and I was very fortunate to be able to have the support of someone like Jeff, who said, let me hold your hand, let me help. But also still kind of the freedom. I mean, he has no idea what I do on a day-to-day basis and like what I talk about, which he is well aware of. And he's like, I don't want to talk about that. But still the support of, well, here's how you run a business. Because I'm just like,
Wow.
I didn't know how to do any of that. I'm good at HR, but like I didn't know how to run a business besides that. So it truly was never something I thought I could do. It wasn't something that I was like, yes, this is the business model. This is the idea and how we're going to solve all the world's problems. It just kind of happened. And but I think the really big key there was somebody saying, yes, you can do that. Um, let it click in your own head that you can. And once I kind of let it start to click in my head, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. Here we go. Let's jump.
Wow. I mean, I feel like
Well,
that a lot of that's timing too, like God, the universe, whatever
yeah,
you believe in or our fears believe in. Like, I feel like a lot of that's just you being open to knowing, like, I need to shift into something. I
yeah,
mean, maybe a new job or whatever, and then this door opens and you're like, okay, okay, all right. And just
okay.
like
Yeah,
all
when
those things, I feel like they make
it
such a
really
giant
is.
difference.
I've always been a everything happens for a reason person, and it's kind of funny. We have within our businesses, we have come to like mildly refer to it as the Liza Palmer effect, who is my 2.5 year old, because I was getting ready. I was already looking for jobs. I was already trying to leave my last job. And then we were very fortunate to get pregnant with Liza. And I was like, okay, well, here I am. I'm going to say we're going to have this baby and we'll figure it out later. Need to be able to have leave and all those things.
Mhm.
And then, throughout that time, that was really when we were like coming back from to the office to COVID. I was much more in the office. Like when my son was born, no one I worked with ever saw me pregnant.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Never, because he was born in COVID. So it was just, we were not out and about. And so it was just a very different experience from this. And we were getting back out into client work and all these things. And then when she was born and I went out on leave, there were several folks, you know, within an organization that kind of realized that I was still not leaning into the here's the template model and really still kind of trying to be that high touch and kind of saw the writing on the wall, so to speak, of, oh, things are changing around here. And is this, you know, am I good here? And our other business partner, Matt, ended up deciding really like while I was on maternity, he says, he's like, because you went on maternity leave, I decided to leave and partner up with it. And it's just funny. And then it was when I came back and I got settled again and we were, okay, I'm done. My husband was good. We're not having kids. And it was like, okay, now is it's my turn and it's
Yeah.
my time to say what fuels my fire.
Mhm.
What, if I'm going to be spending 40 hours a week away from my kids, it needs to be worth it. And I want them to see that, you know, mom can do it too.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you're exactly, it was just all about timing. And it is just funny that it kind of comes down to this 2 year old that just kind of her entrance into the world kind of shifted people's perspectives a little bit, completely unrelated to, being influenced by her directly as a human being. But the spicy red hair just really it lit the fire from the jump. She's uh, but it is just funny. It is, everything happens for a reason. I have always believed that, some of the worst things that have happened to me have also been the best things that have ever happened to
Yeah.
me. And you never see that then when it's happening, when it's awful.
Mhm.
But looking back now, I'm like, thank God that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
And
I feel that way about this too.
it's interesting when like when you were on maternity leave and you came back, like there's obviously a care because you mentioned like the way that you treated your clients when you were
Hmm.
corporate wasn't under the templates. It was okay, let's identify what's important to you and your goals.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens a lot with employees in companies, like you go over and beyond because you just care. Like that's just
Yeah.
how you are as a person. But then it's like you're making that extra effort to benefit an executive team and not you. Like I know you're doing this
Yes.
because you're a person and you care, but like it's not your business. So you're just doing the extra mile for somebody else to benefit
Yeah.
beyond the customer, right? Beyond the client.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I felt that a lot. And of, what am I why am I going above and beyond? And at the end of the day, it's because I'm not really good at doing baseline. Um, a very, very silly metaphor that I use when I talk to clients about like performance reviews. We talk about like meets
Yeah.
expectations as being like the main. I always talk about this very silly metaphor that my girlfriends and I developed in college of baseline boyfriend, being that our friends would say, well, but he's really nice to me and he loves me. And I'm like, that doesn't get you extra points. That's baseline boyfriend. He's meeting expectations. And it's so silly, but everybody's like, oh, makes total sense, which is why it's still my go-to metaphor. But, I'm not very good at being in any aspect of my life at being baseline boyfriend,
Yeah.
which is something that, I pride myself on. I'm a very, let me be your best friend.
Mhm.
How can I go above and beyond for you? How can I help? Do you need dinner? All those things. But when you're doing that at work for so long and you're not seeing that appreciation match, like as you go above the baseline, it just, that's when you get burnt out. That's
Right.
when you say, I can't keep going. And that's where I was feeling, but that's where we see so many. That's what happens to a lot of these employees because
Mhm.
leaders don't know how. They don't know, okay, well, should I just give them more money? And like, yeah, money's nice, but what are other ways that you can actually show that you appreciate them? Understand ways that they feel appreciated. Everybody feels appreciated in different ways. Some people, a paycheck increase is all you need. Great, wonderful. Some people, it's, a team, company-wide Zoom call. Hey, want to call out Tara for her amazing work on this project. She was instrumental in this. We can't thank her enough. There's actually a book, The Five Languages of Appreciation.
Mm.
Yes,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like the five love languages. No, physical touch is not one of them. They do address that. The physical touch is not a language of
No,
appreciation
don't
in the
like no.
workplace. That's still a no-go. Um, Handshakes you can hug with permission. But it's actually a fantastic book. I recommend that everybody, every reader read it because you can just even kind of understand, oh, okay, what the ways I want to be appreciated are not the ways that
Mhm.
you want to be appreciated,
Right.
just like your love language.
Yeah.
So it's a great book. I recommend everybody read that. It's a very, simple read. It reads just like the languages. There's still the same old quiz. You're just not going to get physical touch because that's not appropriate for the workplace. They at least address it. It's not just like skipped over. But,
Yes.
um, so by looking at those things, okay, because you know what, maybe you don't have the cash.
Hmm.
Heck, right now, I
Right.
don't really have the cash.
Hmm.
I would love, I appreciate my employees more than I can even say. I would be lost without them. They are the most amazing team ever. And I wish I could throw a ton of money at them, but we're a startup. We're still new and we just don't have that place. So it's finding other ways of, hey, I saw this book. I thought you would like it. Or I got this silly sticker, that I thought you would like. That's a real life example. I have one here for one of my employees that I was out and I was like, oh, she'll think that's funny. But it's those little things that go a long
Yeah.
way when you might not have, because it shows you understand them as a person. You're
Right.
seeing the whole person. Um, when you look at saying, okay, well, what makes you excited at work? What do you want to learn? How can we help nurture that? Because all those things are going to help grow your business.
Oh yeah.
And so, you have to look at it from the bigger picture of just job duties. Anybody can
Hmm.
get meeting expectations is that you're doing everything on that job description list, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But where you're going to get the growth of your business and the knowledge is when you add in like those big competencies and the
Hmm.
softer skills that allow an employee to take those duties
Right.
and go above and beyond. But I was on a path where I was told that I was appreciated, but it
Right.
was never shown.
Yeah.
And that human beings can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
And that same thing is, that applies to, a huge publicly traded company, and it applies to a group like Bloom where there's four of us. It's all the same. People are
Yeah.
still people no matter where they work.
Oh yeah. And I think that's huge. Just in what you said about showing appreciation and value, but speaking appreciation in the employee's language is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, for small businesses, you've worked with so many. How like how do they get over that negative thought or negative perception that I'm not going to invest in HR. I'll just hand it off to our our COO, or there's
Yeah.
something about a PEO. What's a PEO, and
Mm-hmm.
like should I do that? So like how do you help companies navigate like this is not something you just hand off to you do part-time yourself or hand it off to your COO, or
Yeah.
if you do have a professional employment organization, which is a PEO. Like, what is that? Do they need HR? How do you help them with all that?
Yeah. So it's really kind of understanding, okay, who's doing it now and what is working. That's likely, I mean, there's got to be something going well, otherwise you're in the tubes. So something is working, whether it be intentional or not. Well, everybody gets coffee at this one place every Friday, and that's okay, great. Let's build off of that. But you really, there at the end, yes, we talk about the softer things and how we want to connect with people, but there is still, going back to the boring, there's still a line that as a leader, as a business, that we still need to be doing things with intention.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we don't do things with intention is when you get in trouble.
Mm,
It's when you unknowingly, unintentionally, maybe, say something that offends somebody, and all of a sudden an EEOC claim is in the mail. Um, Something that we preach a lot in HR, and frankly, I just preach it in life, is impact over intent.
okay.
It doesn't matter if you didn't mean that joke to be offensive,
Mm-hmm.
it was.
Yeah.
And that as a business can be detrimental to your organization. And so if you're just letting things happen organically, there's some of that is great and that is the foundation, but there comes a point where you have to say, okay, are we still doing this within a place of compliance, of intention, so that we don't find ourselves in a place that our intent is going to have poor impact. We need to say, okay, what is our intent and how can we make sure the impact is what we want it to be? And that takes somebody who knows how to do it. Just like getting my accounting book set up, really needed Candy, who came in and she was amazing. Thank you. She was my onboarding person at my new bookkeeper. She was amazing, but I needed her to tell
Right.
me, here's how we get from point A to point B. I was like, well, I have, that invoice makes sense if you have these two emails and this sticky note on my desk. And she's like, okay, great. That doesn't help me. I was like, and I knew that was bad, but I was doing. And so it was that she was like, okay, here's how we're going to rid your desk of the sticky notes and get the emails into QuickBooks and do all these things to get this organized so that you are intentionally tracking revenue, tracking goals, tracking all this. It's the same thing when it comes to your people. Okay, well, yeah, like those one-on-ones, like I kind of have, and I have this sticky note of documentation from when I talked to them, but it really just says talked to Tara. I'm like, okay, well, what did you talk to her about? It's, that's not helpful. So making sure that we can see where we want to be, we can see what we're trying to do, but you do at the end of the day need somebody to come in and say, okay, here's how we can make this happen for you. A PEO, for example, is a great tool in making that happen. There's a lot of compliance help that comes with that. Especially for multi-state employers, it's a really great way to kind of expand into other states easily without having to know like how many forms do I have to fill out and who do I have to send this to and all of that. And they have great tools that you can lean on. It gives you benefits that you might not otherwise be able to get. All those things, but it's still a tool in the toolbox. And if you don't have somebody who knows how to use it correctly, you're going to get in trouble. And that's the thing is you can't just, you can. I won't say you can't, you can. It wouldn't be a wise use of any type of investment, a PEO, a whole employee outing, whatever, unless you're making sure that whatever your intention is with those things is impacting your business and your people in the way you want it to, the way you intend it to, because the impact is really all that matters, both in how it helps your business grow, but also from a compliance perspective and any potential risk that you might be leaning into, unknowingly or not.
Oh, yeah. Have you found like with a lot of the clients that you've talked to, or not, or just prospects, have you found like there's a friction point with small businesses of like this is really when you need to start investing in HR, or do you find like companies usually just put that off till it's like really, really, really bad?
I think it's a combo. A lot of small businesses think they don't need to think about it until they hit 50 employees. And
Oh,
that's like
really?
this huge, it's FMLA, it's ACA. There's a
Okay.
lot of just kind of like laws that become applicable to you at
Okay.
50. But the truth is, there's a lot of other laws that are applicable to you way before then.
Okay.
And that can act similar, that you have to treat like those. And if you wait until you get to that point
Hmm.
and then you try to clean it up and you try to fix it and you try to get to a place where that's not hard and no one's angry and all that stuff, you're too late. We'll fix it. We can clean it
Hmm.
up. It's not going to be pretty. It's gonna, there's gonna be so many more growing pains and change management and things like that the longer you wait. So I always say, you know, get your foundation set. What your HR needs are going to be at 15 employees are going to be different than when you hit 50, 60, 70. And that's wonderful. But you don't want to start up here on the mountain. We need to start at the base
Hmm.
and build our way up. And so let's get you that foundation. Let's start there. Let's figure out where, everyone's like, okay, if your goal is to get to 70 employees, how are we getting there? If you are really trying to not pass 50 because you don't want to deal with all of that, okay, that's fine. But, employees don't know out in the world that you don't get FMLA unless they have 50 employees within a 75-mile radius.
Oh, wow. I did not know
Employees
that.
don't think that. Yeah. So, I mean, and there's some different nuances to it of report, while you're reporting into this, and there's a lot of different ways that it is applied. And those are the things that HR is so gray in how the laws are written. Because so much of it, yes, is written, but so much also is how are you practicing
Mm.
within the law. Um, and so an employee is going to come to you and say, I need FMLA. I'm having a baby. And you're like, okay, well, no, we don't have FMLA because we have 15 employees. And they're like, so what do I do? So what do you do? And if you don't have an answer to that, you're likely going to lose this employee who might be great and wonderful. So employees don't, or for example, employees will come and say, I need short-term disability because they're having surgery. Okay, well, short-term disability is not something that you just get. Short-term disability is a benefit that you can receive while you're on a leave of absence. And you
Mm.
have to be on an unpaid leave of absence in order
Mm.
to get short-term disability. But if the employer doesn't have short-term disability or you're not enrolled in it, you're having an unpaid leave. And so thinking through all of these things that employees are not HR professionals. They don't have the random law knowledge that I somehow have in my brain. And so you need to understand those things well before it might apply to you because it is going to come into your atmosphere of how are you still providing things and supporting your employees through different things that they may think they have, not knowing that it doesn't necessarily apply to their workplace because of X, Y, or Z legal arbitrary reason that they don't know about because it's not their job. Um, but what other laws might apply to you and how. So it really is, the sooner you can at least have a basic framework,
Hmm.
the better you're going to be. And it's not that, we need to come in and do a handbook and performance reviews and like all of these things and learning and development plans for 10 people. Like, no, we don't. We need basic policies, some performance management so that you're documenting things appropriately if you do need to terminate somebody, some basic policies, and
Mm.
that might be fine for now. And we can help educate your managers on how to handle situations, how to move through it. And then we'll hit 25. Okay, we're running into these things of we need a little bit more clarity around our roles. We need a little bit more clarity around who does what because we're not in that scrappy phase of everybody does a little bit of everything anymore. We've needed, but no one really knows exactly what they're doing. Okay, so let's look at job descriptions. Let's look at who's doing what, who's good at what, what org chart makes sense. So it can, you hit different milestones, but if you wait until 50, which is when people think, oh, we need HR when we hit 50, you are way, way, way too late.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
going to be a mess.
I
We
can
will clean it up. I promise you we can get it cleaned up, but it's not going to be fun.
I can imagine like the culture at a company with 50 employees who hasn't had HR. Like, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but I can just imagine most of them is probably a little rough. Like it's probably a little crazy.
It's a little crazy. It's either like a lot of frat boys, no offense to frat boys, um, but things kind of that atmosphere, or it's chaos.
Yeah.
And
Returning and
we all
burn
know,
employees, right? Just
yes,
in and out.
exactly. And, you know, we've seen people with 75% turnover rates.
Oh
And they're like, well,
no.
if someone doesn't work out, we turn. It's like, do you know how expensive that is?
Yeah. And that's
And do
just bad
you
for
know
their
what it's bad for your brand. It's bad for your existing employees. Like, and they're like, okay, well, I don't know, how do we engage our employees? It's not about engaging your employees to get here. What that tells me, someone with HR experience, is that you have a hiring and an onboarding problem. And
Mm-hmm.
half the time they're like, what? Like, well, you're not
Hmm.
hiring the right people and you're not onboarding them correctly to become
Hmm.
effective quickly and bought into your mission
Right.
effectively. Oh, we
Like and
think,
that's
oh, well, should we have more pizza parties? Should I pay them more? No, you have a hiring and an onboarding problem.
wow.
And those are just things that, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I
Right.
arguably knew that accounting shouldn't be done on my sticky notes, but I didn't know how else to do it. So it's just, that's when you need to call in somebody who does. And, we really try to approach it as this is a judgment-free zone.
Hmm.
We've all made mistakes. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be treated in a judgment zone.
Right.
I was having this conversation earlier today with, um, you know, a, a practitioner I'm working on getting, shopping around for functional medicine doctors for my son. And the thing I've said to everyone is I have walked into doctor after doctor after doctor with him about this and felt so judged for
Mm.
everything I've tried with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And it's been so demeaning. And I I know how that makes me feel as a
Hmm.
human being. And I never want, we're not going to come in and make you feel that way. I might look at you and say, that was probably not the best choice. Let's not make it again. And here's how we're not going to make it again. But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And this is a safe space. You come in here, lay it on the table. It's okay. We'll figure it out. But when you hide something and you are afraid of being judged, and so then you don't,
Mm.
that's when we get in trouble. Not because you intended to do something incorrectly, but because it landed poorly and now you're embarrassed and okay, that's okay. Let's just fix it. And it's okay. So I think my goal always is to just, approach everyone with empathy, with care. You're a human being.
Hmm.
Let's see how we can fix this as human beings. It's not a big
Yeah.
deal.
And HR, I think sometimes gets a really bad rap. Like everybody's like, "Oh, HR's here," and it's
Yeah.
like it's just one of those things where you're like, "Okay, it's not like we're not we're here to help, right?" And even
Yeah.
you starting, so you started Bloom last year, and now you have employees, like, which is that's awesome. I can't. You started Bloom and you've already scaled it and have a team, which is amazing. So that at like you're walking the same walk a lot of your
Yeah.
clients are doing. Was that
Mhm.
scary? Like deciding like, okay, I got to be responsible for some other people now. Like, was that a scary decision to make?
Yes, very. Because I'm like, if something goes wrong, like okay, that's on me. I took risk, but if it goes wrong, that's their livelihood
Mhm.
also, and their family and their future. And so, yes, it's super scary. And I've tried to be very intentional about the pace at which we've grown. It wasn't like, I need 7 people right now.
Right.
We've gone gradually and, been very intentional about the types of people that we've hired. And, Ian and Eliza, who are my first, they're our core team, are just amazing people. And it's, been I mean, at the end of the day, I was like, I need help because I truly just don't have enough hours in the day and I am tired and I'm not sleeping and I am cranky and no one likes me because of that. And I need help. But it was also part of identifying, okay, where was I struggling?
Mm.
And what did I need to help my business move forward? And what I kind of identified in myself is I am really great at seeing the big picture of seeing what we need to do, seeing how we get there. But it was this sitting down and putting it on paper and creating a process that was just like pulling teeth for me. That's where I was doing at midnight because I couldn't get myself to do it during the day. Enter Ian Hall. Dang, is that guy good at listening to me talk and ramble in like the most chaotic fashion. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, here. I'm like, how? But so, going out and looking for somebody, like, I need somebody who is process oriented, who is detail oriented, who can make sense of my, swirly brain thought process. And then he and I found our rhythm and what do we need? Okay, we need somebody who is hungry, a good executor, creative, wants to learn, you know, kind. Okay, enter Eliza Harrington. We found, identifying not only what are the job duties that we need to get done here, but how does this person think? And
Mhm.
what are the soft skills they have? I can teach you HR. I can give you a workbook of laws. That's so boring. What's harder to teach is how to talk to people.
Right.
And it's really hard to teach empathy outside of, you know, in a business environment. Heck, it's really hard to teach empathy to a 4 and a 2-year-old. So if anybody's figured it out, please help me. But it's harder to teach that in a professional setting.
Mhm.
Even, that's kind of one of those, okay, I'm still your boss and you still work for me. And there is a line. And, I love my team so much. I care about them so much, that I tend to even myself catch myself like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. It's like HR is human too. We make mistakes. And, you know, I, but it's okay. But again, at the end of the day, we're human.
Right.
And you just have to lean into it. But it is scary of thinking, okay, these people depend on me. And so, we've tried to be very intentional about how we bring on more people, not bringing on more people before we can
Mhm.
chew. We have our amazing recruiter, Amanda, who is newer on our team, but has just like jumped in head first. But I was like, I can't bring you on full time right now. Like, we still need to build this out a little bit. And she's like, no problem, no worries. She's, figuring out together. But we had a really open conversation of like, okay, what do you need? Here's what I can offer. Is that okay? Is that going to fulfill what is that going to help you pay your bills?
Yeah.
From at that minuscule to fill your cup. And then, we have conversations as we go. And especially at this small of a phase, that's okay. You just,
Mhm.
again, need to know how to have those conversations um, and have them appropriately about, there is still a line, even with being an open, honest, vulnerable book, which, me, I'm clearly a yapper. I can make friends with a brick wall. I've never met a stranger, which I think has done very well for me in a lot of
Mhm.
ways of relationship building, trust building, which is so big in HR. Like, if you have
Yeah.
no trust, you have nothing. No one's you have to have trust and belief and faith and confidence. And so, I lead with that first, with an open heart, and you can trust me, and we're going to connect, and we're going to find something to talk about. But then there does come a line of like, okay, but this is still a business relationship. There
Right.
is a certain line, and it's not straight. And it might not be the same for every single relationship. And so, something I've really focused on trying to teach my team and help also teach our clients is that, emotional intelligence and how you understand, okay, when we're adding people, when we're growing our team, how are we doing it intentionally? How are we reading them? How do we know what they need? But it's making that decision and asking for help. I had to ask help for Ian, and that was hard. I still struggle, frankly, and I've told my team they've been really, really awesome about it the past month or so. I was like, I need you to tell me to not come to a meeting. Like, I need you to tell me that you are going to take this off my plate because I am so bad at asking for help
Mm,
or for saying, hey, can you do, like, I just never want them to feel like what they're doing is not worthy of my time.
right.
Or that is that is HR coordinator work. I am the president. Like,
Yeah.
never.
Yes.
No. I've been taught from a very young age, you never ask anybody to do anything you are not willing to do yourself, and you treat the
Mm,
janitor like you treat the CFO,
mhm.
the CEO. But sometimes I take that a little too far. And
Mhm.
this happens, I mean, this is like a personal problem too. Like, this is in every aspect of my life that I'm really not great at letting other people do things. Ask my husband. Um, like, at all. I'm really not good at it. Ask him the last time he loaded the dishwasher because
That's what
he
I was going
does
to
it
ask. I was like,
wrong.
the dishwasher.
He does it wrong. There is one way to load a dishwasher, and I feel like that is a very polarizing thing, is how you load a dishwasher. But,
Oh, yeah. Or just a
like,
toilet
very.
paper roll. If you put it on, like, people are like, oh, it's
Oh
got to
yeah,
be
no, we are
over.
an over family. We are an over family. We went under for a little bit when the toddlers were really toddlering, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
irked me the whole time. But thankfully, we're past that phase. But like, I was just like sitting, I was telling them, I'm like, I'm working so late, I'm so stressed because we have so many meetings, we have so many like little touch bases with clients. I'm like, you don't need to be on all of those.
Hmm.
Like, we're asking them 3 questions about like handbook edits. Like, that's not a valid use of your time.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I have logged on to Zoom, and well, the clients are on there, but like, get off of here, leave. Like, thank you. I've asked them. I was vulnerable and honest in that circumstance of like, this is something I, as a leader, am struggling with,
Yeah.
and I know, and so I'm falling behind in these other areas where we need to move forward, like, that are key to helping the business move forward and
Hmm.
getting these things done and identifying our revenue targets and breaking out like our goals per quarter, all of those things
Hmm.
that I was just like not doing because I was sitting on a bunch of 30-minute touch bases with our clients. And do I still make an effort to join those every now and then? Yes, because I want to connect with our clients. But they have been really great of like, if they're CC'd on an email, like, Trisha, don't do this. Like, we're going to do this. Like, keep doing what you're doing. And so, but that really has only come with me being vulnerable and saying, guys, I need a favor. Me
Right.
being all over this has nothing, zero, to do with my belief and faith and in your capabilities, and
Hmm.
everything in me feeling bad asking you to do it.
Mm.
So please, like, push. Um, so it just, you have to know, what you need as a leader, what your people need, and then how to make it work. And I think as you scale and as you grow, being really intentional with the people that you bring in, as which is what we have tried to do and grow, it's going to help you in the long term. But it has also been, fun kind of to talk to our clients about, like, yes, did you I'm trying to open up our 401k too, and this is where I landed, and this was kind of my thought process about 4%, and do you want me to send you my calculation spreadsheet that I put together? We're doing it at the same time.
Yes.
And I was like, 4% sounds like so much, but then when I actually saw the number, I was like, oh, okay, we can do that. So we're not just talking the talk. And that's something, I've wanted to make sure that we do from the get-go. This is not a do as we say, not as we do. We are practicing what we preach,
Yeah.
100%. That is extremely important to me, and something that I have really stressed with our team. And we approach that together cohesively. Like, this is how we do business, and We make an effort to do business with people who think the same way and treat this the same way. And when you do that, you find how you want to do things. You find people who do things the way you do it. Work ends up actually being a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, having, like you keep going back and saying, like having the people who have the skill set and the experience and the knowledge and things that you do not have as a leader is so important. And then someone who can hold you accountable to asking those hard questions, like no matter whatever part of your business, and then letting go of some of that control. And I
Yeah.
wanted to end our conversation on a quick round of questions.
Okay.
Does that sound good to you?
Yes, I'm ready, hopefully.
All right. Hot or iced coffee?
Hot always.
Do
Always,
you
even in the summer.
really?
Well, hot first. I have to start the day with a
Okay.
hot cup of coffee. If
Okay.
it's the afternoon and it's hot outside, yes, I will. My
Okay.
second cup
Okay.
can be cold, but hot first always. It's like it's the ritual, I think, more than even just the coffee in the morning.
I say, are you like a black coffee drinker or
Splash of almond milk.
just a splash?
Just a splash. Just enough to like that it's not pitch black, but not a lot.
Like flavored almond milk or just plain?
No, just plain. I can't. It's too
Okay.
sweet. I like the taste of the bean. A dark roast.
Mm-hmm.
Splash.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I can be both. And usually I'm one when I should be the other, you know.
Okay.
Like somehow during the week I tend to be a night owl and that never ends up well because then I
Yeah.
have to be the early bird in the morning. Um, but I don't know, sometimes those late hours, early mornings, it's quiet in my
Yeah.
house. So
You just want quiet, right?
yes, so I mean both, but again, usually one at the wrong one at the wrong time.
Yes. Now, this next question I'm going to ask you because you have a theater degree, right?
Vocal performance, yeah, music. I
Yes.
studied music.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite musical?
Oh God, that's like trying asking me to pick my favorite child. Um, I mean, I can always say, you know, I love Hamilton. I love Wicked, those big
Oh,
flashy ones.
yeah.
I because I love musical theater so much, and I think it speaks to me in like a really big way. Like, asked my husband how many tears I was crying on the way home from Wicked for Good, and he was just like, "Why you're crying?" I
Oh.
was like, because her character, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Just let me be." Um, but I think when I think about like musicals, I think about like the experiences I had seeing them. Like we saw The Color Purple on Broadway with
Oh,
Cynthia Erivo, and I
wow.
mean that changed you. Les Mis is always one of my favorites. We
Mhm.
saw Spring Awakening with that was done in sign language,
Oh, wow.
extremely powerful. So I think those situations. But I'm also, I mean, if you haven't done an entire car trip, road trip, it's about 3 hours doing Hamilton from start to finish. You have missed out. Hearsay. It's great.
It's 3 hours?
It's like about 3 hours.
Oh,
If you
wow.
live in Charlotte, if you're going to Charleston, that is your next road trip. It
It's,
is like perfect start to finish, and you just jam. It's great.
Hamilton
Trust.
is good. Oh, that's good. I could have loved to seen that at the original cast in
Oh,
New York. That would have been amazing.
at least you can watch it on
That's
TV.
true. Yeah, Disney Plus, right?
Thank goodness.
Okay, and last question. If your life had a theme song for the current season that you're in, what would it be?
I've actually kind of had the same theme song for a few years now. I always come back to Bejeweled by Taylor Swift, and um, what I really lean into is best believe I'm still bejeweled. I can still make the whole place shimmer, and that really kind of came. It hit me first at the Eras tour,
Oh,
and I was 23 weeks pregnant, and just like really not feeling in my element. Like everyone looked super cute, and I'm like my feet hurt, and I mean it was still incredible. Um, but it's just like I can still be. I'm a mom, but I can still
yeah.
be. I can still make the whole place shimmer, and I think founding, coming into Bloom has reminded me of that too. Of that, even
Mhm.
professionally, I can still make the whole place shimmer.
Yeah. Oh,
It's always a little good, like go girl.
yes. And we're so much more than our careers, our businesses, and like there's things to us. There's layers of
Yeah,
people, just not like one thing or one label.
and it all shows up everywhere,
Yeah, that's
whether
true.
you want it to or not. So
Yes.
let people be people.
Let people be people. I love that. Well, Tricia, thank you so much for joining me
Thank you for
today.
having me.
For Loom HR, I'm going to put a link to your website and to your LinkedIn if people want to connect with you. Oh my gosh, I learned so much about HR and just
Thanks
that.
for letting me yap.
Yes. Well, thanks for yapping. I mean, this was
I appreciate
great.
it. Anytime. I love
Well,
yapping with you.
yeah, yap, yap, yap. Right, you guys, I will have Tricia's information in the description and stay tuned for the next episode of What Am I Even Doing? I'm Tara Lilly, Tricia Palmer from Blue HR. Thank you so much, and I'll see you
Thank
guys on the
you.
next episode.